Okay, welcome to another episode of Cyprus Founders Podcast. I'm here with George Tawil. So myself and George know each other because we're actually doing this in my apartment that I'm renting, but George actually built his apartment. So maybe tell people a bit about yourself, what you do officially, and we can kind of go from there.
Well, hello Connor, hello to everyone listening. My name is George. I am a real estate developer in Cyprus. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. I also work in real estate development in Lebanon. And we, not recently, about 8 years ago, moved into Cyprus to try to balance our risk with the market in Lebanon. And this is one thing that we got right because things went tits up in Lebanon, and it was a very useful balancing strategy that we did with our investments in Cyprus. This unit you're renting was part of our first development in Cyprus. It's 4 years old, 5 years old.
So this is the first project?
This was the first project, yeah.
Right.
We did real estate, and me on a personal level, I went into hospitality a little bit, but then regretted it within a year or two. So now we're focused on only real estate, especially in Cyprus. In Lebanon, it's a different story, but in Cyprus, it's mainly real estate.
Cool. Yeah. So like it seems that there's, 8 years ago, did a lot of people start moving here from a development standpoint? Because there seems to be quite a few Lebanese developers.
So many things happened in the past 8 years, but 8 years ago it was the beginning of a major financial economic meltdown in Lebanon, which led to a lot of people trying to, as we did, balance their risk portfolio. After that, there was the war in Ukraine that also had similar effects on people coming from a different background and from a different place, Ukraine, Eastern Europe. For Cyprus, there was also what's happening now between Israel and Gaza and Palestine. That also led to another pouring in of capital coming from Israel or even Syria. So a lot of these instabilities and conflicts around Cyprus put Cyprus in a safe haven category for a lot of people, that due to its proximity, due to the fact that it's part of the EU, and to some intrinsic characteristics of the Cypriot market. It was considered a safe haven for a lot of these capitals, and this is what we see now. All these developments that you see all around Cyprus are basically partially fueled by these factors.
Yeah. So like we were kind of talking about this last week about the kind of explosion of the market here. Do you think that was definitely fueled by all the people coming in as well?
It's fueled by many factors. There's a lot of internal factors. There's a lot of European factors. And the surrounding conflict environment is definitely one of the factors. I know for a fact that this is why a lot of Lebanese investment came here, why a lot of Israeli investments came to Cyprus, and why a lot of Ukrainian or Eastern European investment came to Cyprus, because of the conflicts in these regions and the problems in these regions. Yeah. And it's not the first time that Cyprus benefits from conflicts around it. Cyprus is a European country in the Eastern Mediterranean, which is a highly rich in conflict zone. So there's always some action happening, and Cyprus is a safe haven for capital in times like that.
I think for people listening as well, like I didn't realize this until I moved here, but like Lebanon is literally a 30-minute flight from here.
Yeah,
Or 45?
even less. The airtime, I think it's 17 or 20 minutes. It depends on the speed of the pilot.
Yeah, so we are
But, yeah,
basically
yeah.
in the Middle East, more so than
You are,
Yeah.
geographically, you are in the Middle
Yeah.
East. You are part of the European Union, but still, you're the easternmost country in Europe. And I'm not sure if it is the southernmost, but maybe parts of Greece go beyond the south, but easternmost. And you are part of the, there is an electrical interconnector that connects Cyprus to Israel.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's connected by cable, so by
That's
electric
how
cable.
close it is.
That's, yeah,
Yeah, man.
very close.
So last week we wanted to kind of talk. I was thinking it would be a good episode to do with you specifically because I am looking at purchasing property. I know very little about it. And then we were just having a conversation. I was like, this is actually a great podcast
Yeah.
for the Founders Podcast. So maybe I think the good thing to maybe talk about first is how you look at projects, how you find properties, how you look at investments. You were talking the term, I can't remember, is it organic?
Yeah, organic development.
Maybe explain what that is for people. Yeah.
Well, first let's start by, I would like to sell to you or to anybody else, but this is not a sales pitch.
Yep.
And this is not an investment consultancy by any way. So whenever you're investing in property or anything else, you need to do your due diligence, make sure that you understand what you're doing. So what we're talking now is my perspective, your perspective. It's not by any means a push for people to invest or to buy. They have to assess their own risks.
I've noticed everyone I talk to, because I'm in the fitness industry, everyone I talk to in finance and now real estate are very clear on
you need to be clear because there's
a
usually in real estate, it's big amounts involved and you don't want to be responsible for people misplacing their investments so let's be clear from the beginning. Organic, we categorize our investments in Lebanon and in Cyprus as organic investments, organic developments. By that, we mean three main things. The first is alignment with community needs and neighborhood needs. And this is from a developer's perspective, not from a buyer's perspective. It has a side for the investor, for the buyer, the property buyer to consider. But as a development, those three things I'm going to talk about are more from developer's side. So you need to be aligned in order to do an organic development. You need to be aligned with those three things. So first, as we said, aligned with the neighborhood and community around you. You cannot build a skyscraper, probably not allowed from the regulation side, but still the idea. You cannot build a mall within a small neighborhood of residential neighborhood. You have to make sense in size and volume and in the identity of what you're doing, even the shape of what you're doing with what's around you. You need to match and be aligned with market demands. So you cannot build studios in a neighborhood that's known for families. You could, but it's not organic, because when you're building in a family neighborhood, you need to cater for families. The other way around too, if you're working in a student neighborhood with a lot of universities around you, you could build whatever you want. You can build mansions there, but you probably wouldn't sell it. You have to build small units for student accommodations or something along those lines. That's the second thing, matching with demand. The third thing is more internal to the developer, and that's financial, and try to be as free as possible from financial institution pressure. So when you're financing your project, ideally to be free, flexible, you need to be free from that burden of having to pay back a loan. Now, a lot of people get their financing from loans or some credits from financial institutions, and that's probably the way to go for bigger investments because of cash flow problems and internal financing mechanisms within a company. But that doesn't make it organic, or that makes you not organic as a development.
Explain that part.
So when I am financing, and it probably is counterintuitive in a sense that if you go to a financial consultant now, they tell you it's cheaper and more financially sound to actually get credit, not invest your own money or the project's own money in the project. Instead, get credit from the bank, finish your construction and sell it and pay back the bank. That's the book, the by the book.
Yep.
If you go to real estate investment financing book, this is what you get. But it's not organic, but means that you will constantly be under pressure to repay that institution. Mm-hmm. So you need to finish quickly and sell quickly in order to avoid penalties or whatever interest rates that accumulate. That makes you, in our view, not organic, because the other side of the other way of doing it is to either start with pre-sales and auto finance your project and use a little bit of your money also so that you're free from that financial burden later on, interest rates, term payments, all that put you under pressure. And when you are flexible, you can build quickly, and then you find a phase where I can slow down construction. All that within the agreed time frame of delivery with the client. If you sell, you have to deliver by a date, or other type of penalties and reputational damages will incur.
Just on that as well, just because I'm curious about all of these points because I don't know the answers. Is like it's called off build. Is that it?
Off plan sales, yeah.
So off plan is when you've something that's going to be ready in 9 months or a year, and then you pre-sell it to me as an example.
Yeah. So when you're developing a property, you have two licensing phases before you're ready to. You are sure that this is the layout, this is the size, these are the floor plans, the flats, and it's usually better to sell once you get the first one, which is the planning permit in Cyprus. The planning permit. Planning permit basically says that the planning authority within the municipality that you're working in approve your drawings, your architectural layouts, and they give you the first license. Based on that license and the approved stamped plans of that license, you can start selling. And it's usually better when you're buying off plan to at least make sure that the plans are approved and stamped by the authority. Nothing will change, no surprises later on. The developer won't come back to you say, I sold you a 3-bedroom apartment, but the municipality made me do it like a 2-bedroom, reduced the size because I went overboard with my density coefficients and stuff like that. So make sure that the drawings are approved and stamped before you buy. This is the first.
Yeah, it's like this is what I paid for.
Like,
Big problem.
Yeah, a lot of people don't do that and end up, because a lot of developers also sell before getting the planning license.
Okay.
So just as part of your regulatory due diligence or legal due diligence.
I think that's something we'll go into towards the end, is kind of maybe the 3 to 5 things that someone like me should be watching out for. So you were talking about the organic side of things. When, let's just say, use this project as an example. So let's just say you got it signed off, legally, okay, you're ready to go. How long did it take from that signature from the council to basically be ready to move in for clients? How long did that process take?
It usually takes, well, these are small scale projects. We're talking about 4-floor buildings, 4-story building. It's not a skyscraper or something like that. But we're talking about anything between 14 to 18 months.
Okay.
So when we started construction on this, we had COVID.
Wow.
We started 2018, and we were supposed to deliver mid 2019. Took us maybe 4 or 5 extra months because during COVID there was a lot of lockdowns and interruptions for work, and people couldn't come in. And whenever any worker from any team got sick, the whole team had to stop working. So COVID, this happens once in a generation. So this is not the rule.
How was that process for you?
It was tough, stressing, but again, the stress. For example, this brings us back to the financing issues. Yeah. If I had a deal with, now I know the banks did a lot of facilities during COVID, but still, if I had taken out a loan to finance my property, I would be under immense stress and pressure during COVID. But I didn't. So we decided to build organic from the beginning, and we had the financing ready internally for the project before the start. So COVID extended my delivery period, but everybody understood.
Yeah.
It was not something we can do anything about. That was one of the financing of the project was safe, ready, and reduced the pressure and the stress of delivery. So we were not worried about the money and we have to pay back, and the bank is going to start, claiming interest or their payments.
And then from a developer standpoint, like getting money from a bank, like if I'm a regular person, I get a mortgage. How does it work for developers? Like what type of loan length is it if you go for that kind of traditional approach? Different products, different services, different banks offer different packages. Usually, this might have changed. I'm not sure lately if anything changed, but they don't give you 100% of your project's worth of money. They give you around 45 to 50%. You have to you have to write off, I think, the plot of land. So you kind of transfer ownership or block ownership, some sort of legal term there, to the bank. They give you 45% to 50% of your project, and you agree on a schedule. I think it's 7 to 8 years for repayment. Got it.
Yeah.
And then when you built this is actually another thing I want to ask you afterwards, is the one thing I've noticed in Cyprus when I moved here is there seems to be much more smaller, kind of more boutique style apartments. Like this has got only 2 apartments on every floor. So it's 8 apartments in the whole thing. When I was in Romania, there was maybe 12 apartments on every floor. And
in new developments?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was huge.
This is regulatory.
Yeah.
This is part of the regulation of the locality or the municipality. So if you're building in the center, it would be a completely different organization of the build, maybe more apartments, smaller sizes, or even bigger sizes. They usually like to. You have strict rules to follow in order to get your licensing, and this is part of the rules. So
because this is more of a residential area.
Yeah, they want to keep to maintain a type of residence and a type of accommodation within a certain neighborhood. So that's purely regulatory. You probably could do with like 1 2-bedroom and 2 1-bedroom apartments, but that also is subject to regulatory approval.
That was a huge thing when I moved in here. It was like, oh wow, there's the risk of having noisy neighbors is so much lower because there's just way less people.
Yeah. So this is a limit in density of people per square kilometer within the city.
Okay.
This is related to infrastructure like roads and car load and traffic. This is part of a calculation that the planning department within the municipality does.
Okay. Let's talk. So you were touching on like you as a developer, what you're looking for. Maybe tell people like you developed here. Do you want to maybe share the general location of Larnaca and then how you decided on your next project, what you looked for, what were the benefits of the area that made you want to, develop there as well?
We started off here because, when we started investing in Larnaca, we tried to study a little bit the urbanism of Larnaca, the market in Larnaca, and surrounding developments, like what's happening where and when and within what time frame. So we decided to start in this area, which is Christopolitisa for people who know Larnaca. Which is about 1.5 kilometers east of the city center. We are about 900 meters away from the beach to the north of the Larnaca beach, beachfront. This area is highly residential. This area is the direct suburb to the circle that is the city center of Larnaca. So it used to be a suburb a long time ago, and now it is part of the extended center. And we decided to start here because if we wait, the developments would, they would be faster than us. We would miss out on an opportunity to build. It's important to match the market dynamics. So when an area is being built, or when you estimate or forecast a development in an area, it's important to start. If you wait until it's over, you probably would end up with pricing that won't match or something that doesn't match. It's better to have the flats ready or almost ready when the area is starting to sell, when the market is peaking within an area. And that's why we chose Christopolitisa, Prodromos more specifically.
Just on that as well, when you were looking at coming to Cyprus, were you looking at Paphos, Nicosia, Limassol as well?
Yes and no, but we assessed everything before starting, and Paphos back in 2017 was still a bit behind on development. Now Paphos is exploding, but it's a smart city, it's a student city, and it's a touristic city. It's not a highly residential city, and there is not a lot of locals living there. Nicosia is more of a business hub, local market. It's definitely a good place to consider, but the prices of plots closer to the center, so proximity to the center, prices of land plots, potential gains and potential increases in market activity are all mixed together, and this makes you choose Larnaca easily. One, because Nicosia is growing but slower than Larnaca. Limassol is, for us, Limassol is super expensive. Plots of land are expensive, construction costs are through the roof. And the type of people investing in, not the type of people, but the kind of capital investing in real estate in Limassol is much bigger than, quite frankly, much bigger than what we can afford. So you cannot go, better to stay away from Limassol. It's a saturated market. Larnaca was ideal for our budget, for our forecast, And I'm glad we did select Larnaca because Larnaca boomed significantly.
Maybe tell what was the percentage growth from like the sale price, we'll say, when this was ready?
I think it's fair to say that for apartments in Larnaca in the past 7-8 years, there is a nice 50 to 70% increase in price.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And is that the highest on the island, or would Paphos be matching that?
I'm not sure exactly about what Paphos did over the past 7 to 8 years, but it could be maybe a bit lower, maybe a bit higher, but somewhere around that.
Yeah.
Cyprus as a whole grew significantly because of all the factors we talked about earlier. But Larnaca had a
and also like
share.
obviously the area in the Middle East, but then the explosion of remote work from COVID as well.
Yeah.
Tons of entrepreneurs have come here as well.
Definitely. There was also some taxation regulation changes in Europe. I'm not an expert on taxes, but I know that things changed in specifically Germany.
Yes.
That led to people
company tax.
Company taxes to people like moving in their companies and their businesses to Cyprus. That also drove the rental market. That indirectly drives.
They all
also
came to Larnaca. Every second person is German.
Yeah, the corporate tax here has still stabilized at 12.5%. So
are you? Well, do you mind? We can cut this if you want. But are you a resident here, a tax resident, or in Lebanon?
No, in Cyprus.
You're here, yeah. Cool. Yeah. So you were touching on Larnaca basically, and you decided on the development here. Mm-hmm. So let's just say you sold this, or you're renting some of it, and then what did you look for, or how did you decide on the next development?
So we followed infrastructure changes, investments by the municipality, by the government, and it basically widened the circle of. So our next development was a bit further away from the center, still considered central, but it was a bit further away. There was a big investment by the Radisson Blu right next to the harbor of Larnaca. It was 350 to 400 million euros investment. It's a huge hotel compared to the size of hotels in Larnaca. And we purchased 5 or 6 years ago a plot right next to it, and we didn't start.
After the news of Radisson, then you purchased, or was it before?
It was before they started construction, but
you knew about the development.
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
But we wanted to see how the area around that investment would change before we start our licensing and before we start our project. Mm-hmm. So when we understood how things are moving there, when we saw the investments, and it would be useful to talk a little bit about the 4 or 5 big investments that the Larnaca municipality is doing and the impact they have on the lifestyle in the city, and indirectly, probably directly, on the prices and the value of real estate in the city, because that's a major driver as well. But that was how we decided to start here and then move there. It's a bit further away from the center, and there was a big development happening, so we decided to wait, see how things are going to move. Block the plot, buy it, but don't start. Now we started, because we started to understand and we can see.
So once you got the signal, okay, this is actually going ahead,
It went ahead.
Yeah.
They developed. It's operational for 4 years now. I'm not sure about how long. The hotel I'm talking about. But we started beginning of 2025 with a residential development over there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then they're all studio or one
yes,
bed?
we went with a mix of studio apartments and 1-bedroom apartments. It is a residential area, but with this big touristic development over there, and it's a business tourism hotel. It's not It's not a touristy beachfront hotel. It's a business-oriented hotel. So we decided to go with something that matches those type of investments over there, those types of developments. And we went with one-bedroom apartments and studios because we saw it's not an ideal location for families. There's a lot of businesses there. There's this big investment that the government is licensing. You know, the Land of Tomorrow strip starts there.
Can you explain that as well? What that is?
That's part of the private investments happening in Larnaca. So that's the beachfront between Larnaca and Dekelia used to be for oil and gas infrastructures. There was a refinery there, a lot of storage facilities there for LPG.
Is this still technically UK land up there?
Dekelia.
Yeah.
That's the Dekelia base. Yes, but that's far away. That's midway between here and Ayanapa. But that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Talking about the strip of beach in between the Dekelia base and the harbor of Larnaca. So basically, the Larnaca Marina project that was stopped or paused and phased now again is what's happening at the port of Larnaca. It's the end of Finicudis where you see all these boats. That was public property. They did a partnership with the private sector, got some foreign investments involved. Something happened, they stopped. Now they're redoing it with a different financing. They broke the consortium. Something is happening there, but it's still moving. In alignment with that, all the oil and gas infrastructure along the coast over there was removed. They took it to somewhere else, to the Vasilico area, which is in between Larnaca and Limassol.
Okay, yeah.
So that became the hub of all these services and industries. And they freed the coast, the beachfront, for residential developments, residential, touristic, commercial developments. So that area, that stretch is about 3.5 or 4 kilometers of beachfront properties with their inland, parts. All that is being developed by private capital, mainly the Land of Tomorrow, which is a consortium of private investors from, I don't want to name companies, I don't want to make mistakes, but that's a major private development that already started, and it's basically one big block of developments, or people have the options to go and invest in allotments in smaller parts and parcels of the big chunks over there. That is transforming the area, and it has direct impact on our development because it's at the beginning of that strip. But that also changed a lot of the environment of the real estate value in Livadia, in Oroklini, all the way to Dekelia.
Like Livadia is so much like kind of higher end apartments seem to be going up there now.
It's smaller in scale, so it's smaller buildings. You won't see big, certainly some parts that are closer to the center or more densely built, but it's not high-end development. It's just smaller, like in height, and more wider, so you can buy a house or a villa or a detached house over there. In terms of value, it's very similar to the new developments that you see in the center in terms of construction quality. But of course, the land cost over there is less than the city center.
Yeah, let's talk about this now from like someone in my position. I'm looking at like, okay, kind of like what you were saying, buying somewhere that's like the most optimal place now is going to be the most expensive, but maybe buying somewhere that in 3-5 years it's going to be really well developed and like a really nice area. For you, like what suburbs do you think are good suburbs to look at if you're looking for I guess we can talk about like, you know, apartments or houses, but like, yeah, what areas in general you think it'd be good from like just livability and also cost, and then we can maybe talk about like an investment side of things as well.
All right. So for me as a developer and for you as a buyer also, you have to consider these things. We have to consider them in common. Take the city center of Larnaca and start going in wider circles. And when you find property that has a decent forecast of value and fits your budget, then you start highlighting it as a potential investment. on the short to medium term, which is 4 or 5 years from now, there are certainly some interesting developments that will happen in Kiti.
Kiti comes up a lot.
Yeah, Kiti is the other side. For people who know Larnaca, Larnaca has an airport on its edge, on its western edge, and from the other side of the airport, more west from the airport, there's 2 or 3 or even 4 villages that are good potential locations: Kiti, Meneu, Pervolia, Softades. These have a nice potential. They are close to the beach, they are close to the airport, they already have local communities, so it's not like you're building in the middle of nowhere. No, there is a small town center, even some historical churches and buildings over there. So there is an existing community that is being developed, and when you follow the development, you see that it's starting to touch on the westernmost suburb of Larnaca. So this is how big they are growing, and the land price over there, from a developer's perspective, is still affordable.
Is it more affordable on that side than the kind of Oroclini side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because this was the case for Livadia, Oroclini, Dekelia, the whole area. Not as far as Dekelia, but the Dekelia Road region 5-6 years ago. Only it was not as organic as what's happening in Kiti, because the villages were smaller on this area, and you can
you mean on the
relatively
Kiti side
to
or
on the
Oroclini side?
Oroclini side. Over there, you see the town really expanding, the commercial activity expanding.
I love Pervolia.
Along with the development.
So nice, Pervolia. It's lovely.
Pervolia is very nice. And it's an existing village with a running small economy, and areas being developed, or they make sense. And they're still affordable. So these areas definitely should be on your watch list.
Got it. Okay.
From a buyer's perspective, in your case, and everybody in your situation's case, first thing to ask yourself is why you're buying. What do you want out of this? Are you investing in real estate? Are you looking for a lifestyle change? You're coming from Ireland.
Yep.
So why are you buying in Cyprus? Is the first question. For you, you moved your residence, you're living here now, so probably this is your first purchase in Cyprus. Yep. Where do you want to live? You've been renting for the past year, almost, less than a year.
Yeah.
So,
what are your views actually on ownership versus rental? Because it seems very split with people. Like,
so many factors in that question. Depends on your situation. It depends on where we're talking about. It depends on interest rates. It depends on your financials. Depends on a lot of things. Depends on the market in which you're trying to decide between the two. To simplify it, and I don't want to sound very simplistic in that regard, but if you have access to financing a purchase, and you're trying to decide whether it's better to do that or rent, well, you just have to compare what you're paying for rent and what the loan would cost you.
Yep.
You also have to add another layer of capital gain, like what is happening to this property in this area within this rental period. How is the rental, the cost of the rent gonna change? Depends on your deal with the landlord. And what's gonna happen to the value of the property if you buy it now? And you're planning to stay, let's say 4 or 5 years. So how do you see the market? You need to have some understanding of the market when you're trying to take such a decision. In Larnaca now, if you are ready to, especially in cases like you are living here, so you need a place here, whether rent or purchase. Given the low interest rates, and if you have access to financing, I'd say and given the market dynamics, how things are moving, the growth that is happening in value for real estate, I think you'd be better off buying now.
When you say access to financing, you mean like mortgage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this might not be the case somewhere else, where prices are stagnant, where you have different like higher interest rates when the cost of financing is high. This answer could change, but for Cyprus now, I think you'd be better off buying than renting.
Yeah, it just seems like from a growth perspective, I think more people are going to move here, like from a lifestyle change standpoint, the tax benefits. It's an island, land is limited, you know. I think it's just you would think things would go up. And then also, like are you looking at like, we'll say Limassol, and you kind of like, that's probably going to be similar to what's going to happen here in the next 10, 15 years, or do you think it won't be as intense, the development?
I hope it will, but I don't. I don't think so. I don't think it would be that, unless something dramatic happens. But Limassol's identity changed with all these developments that happened there over the past couple of decades, I think. Maybe.
Was it 2018 when you came? Or 20?
Yeah, and Limassol has
it developed way more though in this last 7 years?
Where?
Limassol. Like were there a lot of high rises?
Even before that. Okay. Those high rises and towers and
okay. So
those developments were there long. Said a couple of decades, even more. Maybe 30 years.
Right.
That capital has been pouring in Limassol. I don't think if that's going to happen to Larnaca, but this is not to say that Larnaca will not develop. It will. It is. But it seems to be developing in a different way. Smaller environmental impact, more energy and resource efficiencies. That's due to updates and regulation and urbanism laws. I don't see it following the model of Limassol. Not to say that Limassol is bad or Larnaca is good. It's just two different localities, two different cities.
And are you from Beirut?
Yeah.
Do you look
I'm from the south of Lebanon, not from Beirut, but as a city. But I'm from Lebanon, if that's what you mean.
But so you didn't grow up but you spent time in Beirut.
I lived there.
Oh, you lived there?
Yeah.
So like I didn't know, I never kind of understood this until I went to Australia and I lived in Melbourne, and I could see how like gentrification changes areas, because it was like, 6 million people, it's a huge city, and you can kind of see like in Melbourne, the south was like old money, always wealthy, the north was industrial, really rough, and then it started becoming trendy. Artists started moving in there, and then the real estate, and then it started getting cool, and then it was just like super expensive, the northern suburbs, even though like traditionally it was very rough. Is Beirut like that as well?
Yes and no. Beirut is less. Lebanon in general is less clear. You cannot put it in those terms, and that's because Beirut had waves of unregulated developments throughout the past decades, because we had a lot of wars and conflicts and different security, economic factors that led to certain periods of unchecked development in Beirut. But definitely, when you're talking about the city center of Beirut, it did have it was completely destroyed during the civil war of Lebanon. We had
How long ago was this?
75. It started until the 90s, the early 90s. So we had like 15 to 20 years of destructive war that destroyed Beirut and emptied it of everybody. And then a lot of capital moved in the country to start to rebuild Beirut. But the economic and investment environment was unregulated, unchecked. They went ahead and appropriated the whole city center of Beirut by some sort of public-private partnership that ended up taking away people's properties, giving them stock in those companies instead, and redeveloping the center in a way that became unaffordable for those same people that had property in it. So it pushed the people away from Beirut, and Beirut for years was almost the city center of Beirut was inhabited. There was no people there. It was just businesses, offices, commercial. They pushed everybody away from the center, the popular center that's needed in every city. They kind of hurt the capital in that sense. And people started moving away. There certain suburbs of Beirut are like Ashrafiyeh, like Jemaize, like there are different circles around the center of the city that fall within the categories that you talked about, like higher class and then lower class, different neighborhoods, but they don't follow a clear movement of capital that you see in more mature, more stable cities and countries. So you cannot compare the dynamics in Melbourne to the dynamics in Beirut, because Melbourne has been safe, stable, and developed and maturing over decades, whereas Beirut has a crisis every 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's different.
Very much so, yeah, that's a good point. Do you feel now, like going forwards with your own projects, like are you still doing a lot in Lebanon, or are you like, okay, Cyprus is much safer, it's more consistent?
We never stopped in Lebanon. Cyprus is a bigger part of our portfolio now, but in Lebanon we never stopped. Even with the latest war, we kept on. We had a touristic development underway in the south of Lebanon. We went ahead with some real estate developments in Beirut, but what we did was make them more liquid. Like, we don't build from scratch in Beirut. For us, other people do, but what we decided to do is renovate or refurbish old apartments or old buildings, existing buildings, which reduces our exposure, our risk exposure, reduces our budget needs, and it keeps us more liquid in Beirut, because you never know when you have to pull out, sell, or move. You have to take the decision and the action really quickly in an environment like Lebanon now. But we have investments in agricultural real estate, in touristic real estate, and in residential real estate that kept going.
Got it.
With all the problems, and they're performing well so far, no issues.
Great, man.
No issues.
The last thing I want to finish with, because I'm conscious of, we've gone an hour.
Oh, yeah. You're going to have to edit that down to 30 minutes.
No, this is great, man. It's
Okay.
very interesting. Is things to, how long have you been now in the space? For how long have you been like selling and creating?
Between Beirut and here, I'd say 10, 12 years.
Great. So like, again, someone like myself, what are things that I need to watch out for? Because I was telling you this earlier before we went live, like my accountant was telling me about one of his clients, and he bought a property and then a brand new apartment, and the plumbing was a disaster, and now they're trying to get it fixed, and the developer's like gone missing, or he's not like helping. So like, what are things like, if you're looking at buying a new place, or you're in general, like what are kind of 2 to 3 or 4 things that it should be kind of non-negotiables? You already touched on making sure that it's clear that the council have okayed the building if it's a pre-purchase agreement, but any other things that someone like me need to be aware of?
Well, definitely there's a legal due diligence to be done. Part of it is the regulatory alignment and approvals that you need to have. Make sure that the plans that you're buying off are approved and stamped by the local authorities, so nothing will change later on. Make sure that the legal status and the fiscal status of whatever party, developer, previous owner you're buying from is clean and clear, that they don't have any tax related problems. Make sure that they check your bank and their bank know each other, KYC, AML, all that. That's part of your legal due diligence. There's a technical due diligence as well. Now it's hard to perform the technical for people that are not in the industry to do that when you're buying off plan. So that's one of the risks why, and this is mainly a risk that makes you buy. This is why when you buy off plan, you pay a little bit less because you're taking a risk. This is one of the risks, the technical risks. And usually you can expect every new build to have some sort of, there's gonna be some problem, especially when you first move in the flat. Maybe some debris fell in some pipe, or some pipe got. This is normal. This is fixable, and usually it is at the developer's cost. But still, it's hard when you're buying off plan to do a technical due diligence. You just need to make sure that the architecture of the product that you're buying matches your needs. So make sure that the rooms, there's enough rooms, bathrooms, living areas, the kitchen, everything is up to what you need. And this you can see because the plans are fixed, they're stamped, they're approved. Nothing's going to change. The balconies, the facade, everything like that is fixed. So, but that's very hard to do as technical from off plan. Technical due diligence, you do it when you're buying a ready to move in flat. You can see it, you can go, you can check the water, you can check the electric systems, you can check the plumbing systems, you can check everything, the construction quality, the tiling, the floors, the painting, the ceiling, everything, the water, even the energy efficiency of the place can be checked, of the partitions, everything. That's a technical due diligence that you need to do. And at the end, there's the reputation of the developer you're buying from. So it's better to see some previous projects, some previous examples of that same developer, to see the type of problems can come up at any time on the developer's portfolio. So if he didn't have problems to date when you're checking, they might have later on. But still, you need to make sure that you're buying off from a developer with a good reputation, with some nice, decent previous work that you can check and make sure that it is up to your standards, up to your specifications, up to the quality requirements that you have. So basically it's those 3 things: legal, technical, and reputational due diligence that you need to perform.
Great. And then be okay with the risk that you're willing to take. If you want that discount, it's going to come with a bigger risk, hence the discount.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Of course, when you're buying off plan, it's cheaper. One, because you're offering money ahead for the developer. Two, because you're taking a risk with the developer, and you want to try to mitigate that risk as much as possible by doing the rest of the due diligences properly. So to make sure that the risk is, at a minimum.
Yeah, great, man.
Yeah.
All right, so where can people maybe learn more about yourself? Do you have any social media, website? Anything to
We
say
have
to
a
people?
website. Maybe we can share it
Yep.
in the description of. I'll send you all the information. We definitely have a website. I'm available by phone, by email. All those details, contact details are there.
Cool.
And they can see our projects in Larnaca as well.
Great, man. George,
Connor,
thank you so much, sir.
it was a pleasure.
Appreciate it. It's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.